in the ward. It's going to be a person outside of that ward managing that conflict of abuse.
To that, the other thing that I'll say there is, if there is a situation, for example, in the court of law, where there is a prior relationship, the judge has the opportunity to recuse themselves. There should be a strong policy of recusal. Just because these people are men that love God and are trying to serve does not mean that they have the ability to be unbiased. They do not. And that should be a very strong policy in the church.
You're making a great point. You know, just because a man's a bishop or stake president doesn't mean they have the ability to be unbiased, especially when it involves their own children that are involved in that abuse. You know, I know a story that a girl was being abused by the bishop's son. And every time he's seen her, she had brown eyes, and you got brown eyes, and you know what that means. And he was always throwing a comment. He said, "Have you ever thought of what it would be like to be raped?" And this is the bishop's son saying it to the most innocent girl, Mormon girl you could see. And obviously, the father of that girl went and he talked to the bishop. And the bishop, defending his son, obviously, in the most horrible way, he said, "You know, I'm just not even going to say what that bishop responded. It's so bad." You know, so this bishop should have reclused himself from that, addressing that abuse when it involved his own. But the church policy doesn't require that. They're going to let a bishop, a man in authority, use that authority in an unrighteous mode for his own benefit or the benefit of his family. That's not right. Separate the addressing of that abuse to another party. Bring it somewhere else and somebody who's been trained. Not every bishop can be fully trained in all these. Get that moved to somebody who can do it. You know, and the truth is that father, he wanted to leave that ward. You know that? He requested the stake president, "I want to get out of this ward to keep my daughter safe." But that stake president allowed him to leave. That stake president told him, you'll be disfellowshipped if you leave your ward. You can't have any prayers, you can't have any callings if you go to a different ward to protect your daughter. So that stake president coerced that family to stay in that ward or not go at all or be disfellowshipped, have the father disfellowship. A father should not be choosing between the safety of his family and full membership in the church. And really, after the death of my son, that was the second story I heard. That a close friend of mine, bless his heart, they got me. I just said, "I just can't do this. I have to keep saying something."
Yeah, one of the things that I'll say that I believe through lots of investigation and listening to stories on this is that it's very important for the church to save their face and support the church leaders, making sure that body of leaders, the stake presidents and the bishops, feel empowered to do what it is that they do, to have their revelation. There's the Arizona case that we see them standing obviously behind the church leaders that made horrible errors and mistakes there. But there's the case of Michael Jensen that happened down in Virginia. And, you know, we know that they can annotate records. That only does good if people make good decisions with those annotated records. Michael Jensen had issues before he left Utah and went down to Virginia that were known. And his mom was the Relief Society president, and she was in a position of authority. So when people ask, they give people in positions of authority, they give them consideration, they give them faith and trust that they should not just give.
But the truth is, they simply don't have the training for it. They're giving them a task that's beyond their skill and knowledge. That's inappropriate from the church policy perspective. You know, it's within the scope of practice, is what Katie's telling me. But what they're asking these bishops to do in these situations is beyond their scope of practice. So, do I honestly believe these bishops mean well? I think 99% of them are honestly good men that mean well, but it's beyond their scope of practice and the scope of training. So they're making huge mistakes, and they're calling the curtain McConkey, is what we're hearing through the hotline, and we know they're never going to. It's never going to take care of the situation correctly. It'll always be the fullest way that's going to be addressed.
Yeah. So in that case of Michael Jensen, the mother who was the Relief Society president, was asked to refer a babysitter, and so she would refer her son, who she knew had molested children. Yet she still referred him because, in her mind, he's in good shape now. He's repentant, which that's part of the clean slate doctrine, right? Like, we believe if you repent, you're great. You're not going to be a child molester anymore. Guess what, President Nelson? It doesn't work that way. That's not how it works. So, that being said, after this all blew up, the church still defended themselves in that situation, even when they did wrong. Michael Davis is one that he just got sentenced. He was the Elders Quorum president that had annotated records and was convicted of sexual abuse twice here in Utah. Yet he was still put in a position of power as an Elders Quorum president. And every time I tell the story to people, they're like, yeah, but he's an Elders Quorum president. He's not working with children. Well, guess what? He molested his ministering companion. That's how it goes. They give trust to these people that they should not give trust to. He was not worthy of trust. So once again, the way that got found out is Michael Davis got pulled over. He got pulled over by a police officer, and that's how it was discovered what was going on. It's disgusting. Do not defend yourself in that. And so when that was about to go to trial, you sent out the presiding bishop to state conference to reaffirm the faith of the members of that state. Do not cover these things up. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. These guys are guys that are just trying to do their best. We understand that. But you need to step up. You need to take the heat. You need to say we're sorry, and you need to change the policies.
You want to know something? That they don't do that. We're in a different world now than we were even 10 years ago. We're in the internet world. And, the old school way of doing things that were, a lot of these policies were adopted way back, I believe back in the 80s, the personal property line, hotline being called, and all these policies were long before the internet. But these are things you can't sweep under the rug anymore. President Nelson, your lack of interest in this topic, as in your words, your lazy learning on this topic is damaging the church, because word is getting around on the internet, and the victims are more than ever more able to bond and communicate. And this message is only getting louder and louder and louder. Surely you know that it is getting louder, President Nelson. And you're going to damage the church that you're leading, because you're a lazy learner. You've not went and worked this out in your mind to see what was true, and you not talk to victims to see if there's a better way. You've delegated this completely to the church attorneys. And attorney's job is not to give the best moral advice, and it's not to do what's best. It's the best legal advice is what an attorney's job is. To delegate it with no other input from an abuse prevention expert or some mental health professionals should have equal power at your policy table when you're deciding what you're going to do as policy. But it's evident that's not the case. You got advisors from across the street here, attorneys, telling you what to do, and you're not bringing others to the table. You need to, because if you don't, you're destroying the church that you're leading. You're harming it. The internet, you can't hide this anymore. You can't sweep this under the rug anymore. It's not going to go away. It's only going to grow, and it's only going to get worse. Why don't you get ahead of this now and wisely pray and fast, as I'm doing today, and inquire and work it out in your mind and come up with something different. And if it's not you, President Nelson, you're next in line. I want you to do it too. Start thinking about these things. And you're an attorney, so you can also mix. You got to keep the church safe. We get that. But surely it can be done in a way that protects. And actually, there is ways. If you're interested, come and talk to me. I know all kinds of ways where you can protect the church, but also protect children at the same time. A little bit of prevention is worth how does the saying go? A little bit of prevention is worth an ounce of prevention.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.